One, two, three, four.
Alright, welcome back to It's Not a Sport. I believe this will be episode 11 of season 4. Yes, we're already past 10 episodes and quickly approaching 100 episodes. Episode 20 of season 4 will be our 100th episode, I believe, which is pretty huge milestone for me. I think I've been doing this for about 4 years now, about to graduate from college, and I've done 100 episodes of It's Not a Sport. So that's pretty huge. Quick reminder, as always, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel. All the shows are archived there, and you can listen to our shows on our Spotify, iTunes, or SoundCloud. All those links are in the description below. So let's get into this week's talk, which is Genshin Impact. And if you remember, or you're joining us for the first time, we have talked about Genshin Impact in the past before, last season, I believe. But this time, I want to talk about its design as a game, not its monetization, which obviously has its problems, but its design as a game and its gameplay loops, and why this game will always have problems overall. So let's first start with how this game is generally. It is and I think you'll catch the problem very early on the problem with this game's design. So it is a game designed for mobile, console, and PC. So what does that mean? That means that you can play on your phone, you can play on your PS4 or 5, I believe now, or you can play on your PC, which is pretty huge. It's the first game to really do that, and it makes sense, being that it is from a Chinese developer, and over there the biggest types of platforms are mobile and PC. Now, if you haven't caught on to the problem already, don't worry, we'll get there. So it is, if you haven't seen gameplay of the game, it is essentially like Breath of the Wild. It is a gacha Breath of the Wild. And again, the gacha aspect has to do more with the monetization of it. But if, like, from the screenshot, it is, you explore a giant world and you have a glider and etc. It's a really close to a Breath of the Wild's clone, which it is super fun. It's actually super fun, as you have seen if you've never played Breath of the Wild, or if you just want to check this one out for a second. Exploring the world, fighting monsters, finding hidden loot, doing monsters or bosses is really fun. But when we get past that, past the honeymoon phase of it, and we go into content and we go into gameplay loop, the game has massive problems. And again, it goes back to the first part that I've said. And here's the big surprise, if you haven't guessed it already. The problems stem that this game is a game designed, and it seems to be designed and with PC in mind, where it's a huge game and console in mind. It's huge, it's open world, etc., but it has the limitations of and design flaws of a mobile game. For example, the gameplay loop. The gameplay loop is you log in each day, you do your dailies, that's fine. But in most PC games, there's no energy system, there's no resin system or time gated system. You can play and just grind whatever you want for as long as you want. For a good free to play PC game example is Warframe. Warframe, you can play the game, do any content you want, farm anything you want, as long as you have, I believe, keys for the high-end content. But you can farm those keys, and you can just play as long as you want for as many hours you want. The only time-gating thing, as in because it's free to play, is waiting for your weapon to be forged or things like that. Genshin has that on top of an energy system, which means you can only play for a limited of probably about 30 minutes a day. And then you're done. Now, that's not a gameplay loop that's seen in mobile games. I don't log in to World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Final Fantasy, or just like any story game, EVE Online, fucking anything you can think of, anything you're playing, Valorant, and be like, okay, you have your energy of 30 energy or 100 energy. It takes 25 energy per game, and you can only play essentially 4 games a day. No PC or console game has that, but that's a very prevalent design in mobile games. Mobile games have that a lot. So what that problem with that is, now that because we have those systems in play, Genshin Impact, which a lot of people like at first, it has a huge following, you could say, because it is that Breath of the Wild's clone, now has restraints. Because your phone, mobile users, and there's a lot of them, a lot of people, of course, play this game on mobile. It's probably its primary platform. I wouldn't be surprised. Now it gets gated. And then the type of content you get gets gated. Because let's say like right now they added like exclusive islands, and there was like a hide and seek event for a while, but instead of adding that primarily to the game and keeping that permanently, because again probably the file would get too big having all that, they have to have it in for a section and then they take it away. That's content that they've already added and then they take it away. What PC game adds content to it and takes it away other than League of Legends? Joking. But imagine if, like, again, Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite's not a good example either, I guess, because again, that's it's just, I guess, new modern design. Imagine Fortnite added a brand new game mode, right? Or Call of Duty added a brand new map that was only there for a week, and then they took it away. And you could, in like in actual Call of Duty multiplayer, you paid DLC for this map, and it came out, and then they took it away. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. And the problems overall, it's conflicting gameplay design. It's conflicting game design. You can't design a game for mobile and put it on PC and put it on a PC and AAA level, PC console level, and expect both of them to work out. And I kind of came to this realizing playing the game, where I would log on, do my dailies, play for 30 minutes, run out of, things. It's really super grindy, so you can't grind any of it. Run out of resin, so I can't play the game anymore. And then I quit, and I realized why is it like this? Even through its dungeon design, where it makes you really just like linear things with like platforms disappearing. I'm like, why is it like this? This isn't super fun. This isn't super engaging. This isn't really good game design for a game of Genshin Impact's level. It's the reason why, like, Fate Go, as another gacha example, or Arc Knights, or fucking Candy Crush works, is because it is a game strictly on mobile. It's not trying to be something else, where Genshin is trying to be something else, but it is constrained by its mobile's platforms problems. It's really an interesting design problem and design philosophy. So how would I fix it? Well, the easiest way is have 2 different games. I think if mobile, again, we just saw this. GTA decided that they weren't going to support PS3 and Xbox 360 anymore. So why can't there be a mobile Genshin version and a PC console Genshin version, but it carries over different content. Like maybe your characters are the same, but the content that the mobile version get is completely different from the PC version. And then you pick a mainstream one. For instance, fucking I'm forgetting the name, Fate Grand Order does this already, where there's a North American version and there's a Japanese version. The Japanese version is the main version. They get updates and things far way ahead than we do. They're 2 years ahead of us. It's the same game, but completely different versions of the game. That's one way you could fix it. Another way of fixing it, like you have to pick a side, essentially. You either pick mobile or you pick PC and console. Another way of fixing it, the grind is already super steep. I understand that with people access to their phone, they can grind infinitely. But maybe remove the resin for PC users would fix a lot of problems. Energy systems don't work for PC, especially with the grind that's already this big. Removing that would probably fix a lot of problems. Starting from there, maybe instead of an energy system or a stamina system, we use a different type of system, or maybe you grind for a certain amount of. Like dungeons have a certain amount of runs. Like let's say you can have 30 runs per domain or dungeon or whatever, and then eventually it just locks you out if you don't want players to grind infinitely. I'm pretty sure World of Warcraft does this, where you can grind dungeon instances, but eventually it will lock you out for a certain amount of time. You can't grind them infinitely. That's a way you could fix it. It's a simple solution, but catering to both audiences is not working, and that's why this game overall is failing and has massive problems. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's talk. I want to do a little talk on this. I thought this was a very interesting game design problem, philosophy that needs fixing. They won't fix it, of course. They'll never fix it. I would like to hear your solutions on maybe fixing this as a game designer. Those were just quick, off the top of my head, solutions that we could go about fixing this problem. Of course, it always goes down to monetization. How are we making our money? How do we want to make our money? This is a gacha game at its core, so we want people to spend on the gacha. That's the point of it. So, but there's other people who've done gachas that are not as terrible as this. For example, a gacha that comes to my mind, old school Mass Effect multiplayer was essentially a gacha, but you could play it infinitely. And then you got the currency, and then you bought the packs, and maybe you get a character you want in the Black Widow sniper rifle, or maybe you don't. But that's just how things work. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's talk. Let's get into the news right now. Alright, and welcome back to It's Not a Sport after our quick little intermission. Small talk this week, not as long as the usual talks, but it is a very interesting design dilemma dealing with Genshin Impact, with mobile versus computers and consoles and game design as a whole. Very interesting problem, and I look forward to seeing how you guys would solve it or how others would solve it. But with that short little talk, we have a whole lot of news this week. And for me, my birthday's in July, so I always say summer doesn't really start until July, it feels like. It feels like June is kind of the intervention months, July is the middle, and then August is, of course, the end. And now that we are in the middle of summer, we have a whole lot of news coming out of the woodworks this week. But before we get into that, quick reminder, as always, make sure to leave a like, follow, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Check out all the links to our previous shows and the current podcast episodes in the description below. You can find everything down there, including the links to our website and articles as well. Also, just have a good time. That's all I ask. And that, write a comment, subscribe, let me know what you guys are thinking. I'd love to get conversations going. With that out of the way, let's get into the news, starting with PlayStation. We actually have a lot of Sony news this week. Welcoming the House Marquee to PlayStation Studio family. So this studio, if you don't know what they make, I had to look it up and I got you. Returnal is their current big game that they're working on. They worked on Nex Machina on the PS4 in 2017 and Matters Fall on the PS4 in 2017. Also Alienation on the PS4 in 2016. And some other smaller titles. It seems that they do a lot of sci-fi exploration sort of games, and that they've been working exclusively on PlayStation for a couple years now. So for them to get a deal to actually be under Sony's wing and get that sweet Sony money is probably really nice for them and nice overall if you're a fan of their games. The ice cold hair of Machine Bloodline is at your control when Kazuya releases as a DLC fighter for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and he's already out if you haven't already. He is actually the final or second to final, I think he may be the final DLC fighter for Smash, and they confirmed that after this they're actually stopping development on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Does that mean we're working on another Super Smash Bros? Probably not. I don't really understand why they would stop supporting this game with the Switch being so successful and this being actually one of their heavy hitters. Maybe he's just Sakura's just tired and wants to work on other things. I know that they're saying like getting Steve in the game was a huge pain. So this is the last DLC fighter for Super Smash Bros. Or second to last. So it's really cool and sad to see them that stopping development for this game. Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red is now quite satisfied with the game's stability and performance. Again, we keep getting tidbits of news about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk's Fallout each week. It's finally back on PlayStation if you didn't know already and missed last week's show, but it still runs really badly. But they're happy with it. It probably still needs more work. I haven't checked it out personally, but I know that they've been patching the game frequently. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. So first off, before we get into this, I want to say if you haven't heard already, Ghost of Tsushima was one of my favorite games. I think, in fact, I named it Game of the Year of last year. It was really good at how they did things, and I really enjoyed it. Just how they really tackle Japanese culture inside of a video game and its design within a video game was phenomenal. Soundtrack, everything, story was really good. Open world needs some work, but that goes for all open world games. I think the genre just needs to be a little bit reinvented. But now we get a director's cut of the game, and if you don't know what that is, well, it's basically an upgraded version of the game for PS5, and it comes out with a new kind of expansion, I would say, a little bit new content. However, of course, they got to make money, and I actually like the title of this article, so now I'm going to read it. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut locks behind PS5 features behind a paywall. And that's dishonorable, which is pretty funny. Really smart title by this author. But yeah, so first off, you have to buy the upgrade. So if you're playing from PS4 and you're upgrading it from PS5, you have to buy that upgrade to the Director's Cut. And if you just want to get the new expansion, which is like the new islands and stuff, the new content, you have to buy that as well, which makes sense for that. But for the features, it seems to be like really like hit or miss with a lot of developers, where some developers are making you pay to upgrade to next gen and some aren't, but this one is. And I wonder why they're doing this move where they released a free multiplayer, which was like very well received, very well received. I remember watching a video about how it puts games like Destiny and Fortnite to shame, and then they do this where they're making you pay for upgrades. So it's kind of sad, but yeah, that's just how the business goes. HBO has begun to film the Last of Us series. That's cool. This is going to be interesting to see how this goes. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to have to wait to see how this rolls out. Also, in the line of news of games that are stopping development, we have NetherRealms, a studio based here in Chicago, is now focusing on its next project, probably, if I have to guess, either Mortal Kombat 12 or Injustice 3, or a brand new fighting game altogether. Who knows? But NetherRealm is now focusing on its next project after more than 2 years of support of Mortal Kombat 11 and DLC for the game, including new characters have come for an end. So that's 2 fighting games in like the same week that has just stopped development on those games and now working towards other projects. Well, we don't know about Super Smash Bros, but we do know that now Mortal Kombat's working, or NetherRealms is working on a new product. This is pretty huge. Mortal Kombat 11 was really successful for NetherRealms. Really successful. I think it's actually their biggest Mortal Kombat game they've ever made. It blew up, especially with quarantine. It just really blew up. So to see what they're doing next after having such a huge success with Mortal Kombat 11 is going to be very interesting. This is interesting. U.S. Department of Justice opens an inquiry into Overwatch League's soft salary cap competitive balance tag. So this is interesting from a standpoint that it's always going to be very interesting when, and I know I said interesting a lot, when the government takes an interest in esports. Esports being so new, especially here in America, where we are so hard on traditional sports and esports not being an official sport, and now the government's taking an interest in it, just like when the government took an interest in the Hong Kong case, which I think more is for Chinese political problematics more than actual gaming interest. But it's very interesting when the government takes an interest in video games as a whole, because it generally means it can mean good things or it can mean bad things. In my experience, at least here in America, it generally means bad things. But having them look into esports as a sport and paying players, this is salary cap should be there. It should be high. These players should be getting paid what they are due. This isn't what it was back in the early 2000 days and 2010 days, where these guys were getting no pay at all. If you go back and hear some of the old stories from those guys and the old team houses when esports was relatively new back in StarCraft 2 days, they weren't getting paid anything. But now, we have big conglomerates like Blizzard, like Riot, running the show, and these players do deserve to get paid what they're due. So now that the government is taking interest in this is something to keep your eye on, because it doesn't stop here. If it starts at Overwatch, it's gonna go to League, it's gonna go to smaller tournaments. It's gonna, if you're gonna have competitive league, I wouldn't be surprised that eventually the government starts looking into esports as like they do in sports, because it's technically how sports are run is illegal, but the government lets it pass because it's a sport. So if you're like me and you've been waiting for Evangelion 3.1 Thrice Upon a Time, the remake of the Evangelion series, because the original anime ended, kind of concluded, and he wanted to remake the series, and the final movie came out in Japan a little while ago. You'll be glad to hear that it is coming out on Amazon Prime on August 13th for all countries except Japan, of course. This is actually huge, because I find more and more that anime companies in Japan have been trying to put out their products on Netflix. If you don't know already, the most recent movie, Hathaway's Flash, which is the most recent entry in the Gundam franchise, is on Netflix right now. And they decided to put their movies and their animes on Netflix, on Amazon, on Crunchyroll, on these platforms more, because it's a legitimate way to get it to a big audience that's, here in America, here in Canada, in the United Kingdom, Europeans, without pirating. The only way for us to get a lot of manga and a lot of anime is to pirate it. and a lot of great people behind the scenes do illegal work by translating a lot of these products, because it really takes a long time and it's hard to get here to the States. But the anime industry doesn't get any money from that. To combat that, they put it on Amazon to kind of counterbalance it. So I think that's very interesting to look at. But I'm very excited for these movies. If you haven't seen these movies at all, it is a trip. They are really well animated, and it's a good place to start if you don't want to watch OG Evangelion and you kind of want to be more up to date and new. Definitely check these movies out. They're really good. BioWare reveals new Star Wars The Old Republic expansion with the Legacy of the Sith. This is one of BioWare's big games. Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO, has been going on for a very long time. Hasn't got as much traction as other games, so to speak, like Final Fantasy XIV right now for reasons, or World of Warcraft, or even Guild Wars for that matter, I think. But it is still a very big one, and definitely exciting news for Star Wars fans. I always like the lore, and especially if they're exploring more Sith things. There's really fun things they can explore there. Back to PlayStation, and we have an article by John Walker from Kotaku. Says PlayStation is hard to work with, devs say. And I skimmed over this article real quick. It's no real surprise, really. One thing that caught my interest in this article is that they say that they released a product on PlayStation and they didn't see as many downloads as they would on Xbox. Xbox has always been kind of there in a bigger fashion for marketing smaller products. Like, that's how Super Meat Boy got really big and the indie games got really big, were on Xbox and the Microsoft Store rather than PlayStation. So this is really no surprise, and a really interesting article that I think you guys should check out. PlayStation games for July, the free ones. Again, more PlayStation news. You got Call of Duty Black Ops 4 for PS4 owners, and A Plague Tale Innocence, which I've heard good things about. It's on my list for PS5 owners, so definitely check out those games. Just get them if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. TV-like ads may soon be coming to console games. So this was the EA article, and they've updated saying that they've denied this. And there's some EA news, EA and PlayStation, the big ones. So EA said like there's a rumor that EA was gonna put TV-like ads in their video games, which I believe they've already tried before in games like FIFA, or I know at least 2K has, because there are TV ads in the basketball games 2K. So that's not surprised that developers have been kind of trying to do this, but they've come out and declined it. But we have to wait and see. Mappa, which is the studio that's known for creating their biggest, most recent entry was Attack on Titans, but now they're working on one of my favorite mangas that I read in 2020, Chainsaw Man. That's what they're working on now. They've opened a new studio to better help work environment. If you don't know, the animation industry is just as bad as the gaming industry when it comes to crunch and overworking and just grinding. They have to do a lot of work in a short period of time. So opening this studio I hope it helps the workers to just have better conditions, and I hope they're happy with that. And again, I don't work in this industry, so I don't really know the context of it, but I hope that the studio helps, because Mappa makes really good stuff. Most recent issues being Attack on Titans and Jujutsu Kaisen, actually, now that I remember as well in the picture. So, and them working on Chainsaw Man is also really huge, because Chainsaw Man, it deserves what it gets, and I hope it doesn't get censored. I hope that's it. Back to EA, Apex Legend hackers are filling the games with messages complaining about Titanfall hackers. It's actually really funny that this is happening. It's a really funny case overall, because Titanfall was a really good game that probably didn't get what it's deserved, where Apex Legends is apparently the shit right now. Like, it blew up a little bit more. It's probably the top battle royale game right now, in front of Warzone and Fortnite. I would at least assume in pop culture. So them getting these messages complaining about, hey, can you guys stop working on Apex for a minute and actually fix Titanfall, is really funny. So some of the highlights of my week actually was this, and if I have a picture up and it says it's Asmongold bald Blizzard dodge. So Asmongold, the biggest World of Warcraft streamer, finally bit the bullet and decided to try Final Fantasy 14, which is huge. And he's done it for 2 days now over the weekend. He's done a great job milking it for his money or his success, which as a streamer he should, which I'm not, mad at him about. It's really good. I think Final Fantasy as a whole, and Square Enix has been lackluster. They haven't helped them out. We'll get to that in a second, but that may be because it's the weekend and they were on break. Maybe they were on or vacate or days off. So who knows about that? But apparently they have been working on it. But overall, I think it's been positive on his part. It's been positive in my part and viewer, but there's been a lot of negatives to it that I thought were unnecessary and just show people's malice. So as he plays the game, you have kind of two groups of people. I think people who are just following him around, just a horde of him following around, which really ruins his experience and is really unfair to him. Which again goes to Square Enix's part, where they weren't really banning these people, but apparently now they are, with people getting 9-day bans for following them around, as they should. Just ban them all. Just have some GMs follow him around, just ban those people. And the reason why people are following him around is because he's big. Some people just want to show up on stream and just have their character on stream and stream snipe him. Others are trolling him because he's a WoW player or whatever, which is ridiculous. He may be a content creator that plays WoW, but he's just a dude who wants to play a video game. He's just trying a new video game. This is only big because there's some WoW versus Final Fantasy strife there that really means nothing in the end. But overall, I think it's a really good experience. I think you guys should check it out and see his journey. And I'm been a preacher for Final Fantasy for forever. If you haven't played already, you should. The reason why I keep coming back is the music is one of my favorite parts of the game. And now recently with me playing WoW Classic, I'm an advocate of WoW. I can see why people fell in love with WoW to begin with. I can't really get into modern WoW as much retail, but with Classic and TBC, I had a lot of fun playing it. And that's coming from a player who started in Final Fantasy. So with further ado, I have this blank tab for my break. That's all the news for this week. Let's get into esports, starting with the Overwatch League Summer Showdown qualifiers. Paris Eternals is in first place, followed by Houston Outlaws, then Boston Uprising, then Toronto, then Dallas Fusion, then San Francisco Shock. Then we have the Knockoff Cutoff Point. Then we have Atlanta, Washington, Los Angeles, London. That's Los Angeles Gladiators, by the way. London, Florida, and Vancouver in last place. That is for the West. For the East, we have Seoul Dynasty in first, followed by Chengdu Dragons, then New York, then Chengdu Hunters, then Philadelphia, also tied for fifth with Philadelphia is Hangzhou Spark, then Guangzhou Chargers, and then dead last is Los Angeles Valence in eighth. Valorant starts back up this week, I believe. So we have first game being 100 Thieves versus Vision 1. Then we had Kansas City Pioneers versus Team Envy. Then Rise versus Xset. And then Genji versus Sentinels. In League of Legends, starting with NA, LCS, which honestly I didn't watch any of the games this week because I was too busy watching Asmongold. We have 100 Thieves in first, then TSM in second. Cloud9 in third, Team Liquid in fourth, Evil Geniuses in fifth, sixth is Dignitas, seventh is Immortals, eighth, and also tied for eighth are COG and FlyQuest. Whew. And then Golden Guardians are dead last. In EU, we have Misfits in first. Also in first is Rogue. Third is Fnatic. Fourth is Mad Lions. Then we have fifth is Estrels and Excel are also in fifth. We have G2 also in fifth and Vitality also in fifth. Sklocko 4 is in ninth, which again they're just riding out the wave because they were actually sold. And then SK Gaming is in last. In Korea, we have Genji in first, followed by Damwon. Kia. Then we have Live Sandbox in third. Ningxin Red Force in fourth. Africa Freaks in fifth. T1 and sixth. KT in seventh. Eighth is Freddy Barn. Port Chovy in ninth, and Hangwon Life Esports and DRX in dead last. And then in LPL China, we have Edward Gaming in first, LNG in second, Rare Atom in third, FPX in fourth, Oh My God in fifth, JD Gaming and LGD in sixth, eighth is Top, Team WE is ninth, 10th is Billy B and Sunning, 12th is Invictus, Rogue is 13th, 14th, Royals Never Give Up, Thunder Talk in 15th, Ultra Prime in 16th, and Victory 5 in 17th. And finally, to wrap up this week's episode, let's get into game releases. What do you have looking forward to? Well, A Plague Tale Innocence just came to PS5, of course, and Xbox Series X and the Switch. It comes to the 6th. We have Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of the Ruin, coming for the Switch and PC on the July 9th. That's Friday. And then that's really it. Those are the big ones this week. Sam and Max Time is Virtual. It's on Quest. I don't know what that is. On July 8th. So nothing really huge for the first week of July. But as things go on, we'll start to pick up. Just to a note, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, I believe, releases next week. As long as Space Jam, a new Legacy video game. That's going to be interesting. Microsoft Flight Simulator comes to the Xbox Series X and X on the 27th. And Nier Reincarnation, which is the mobile game, comes out on the 28th, and the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and Great Ace Attorney Adventures comes out on PS4, Switch, and PC on the 27th. So some things to look forward to a little bit later down the line. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's show. My God, we had a lot of news. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I hope you feel up to date with all the news. Whew. Quick reminder, as always, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Always helps us out. If you want to listen to all of our past shows, they're on our YouTube channel. They're archived there, or you can listen to podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. All those links in the description below, including our social media links where we post previews of our episodes and what's going on with the show. Those are also in the description below, and our website as well. Thanks for listening to this week's show. This is your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful climb.